Hello, everybody. I am Adeshola Balogun, and you are welcome to the Coffee and Beans podcast. This episode is a special one. Remember, we are doing a series on entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs, and this episode is sponsored by Udalu. Udalu is a platform that connects professionals with clients. Udalu is spelled YOODALO. Find them on udalu.com today. A few months ago, I ran a program with the Faith Foundation, the Emerging Entrepreneurs Program, and it made me realize, after spending over a decade being an entrepreneur, that there were a lot of things that a lot of my processes that I needed to rejig, a lot of things that I needed to end, a lot of knowledge that I needed to acquire, and that program shed a lot of light on the need to do that. And today I have with me the CEO of the Faith Foundation, Adenike Adeyemi. She's someone I admire, someone who, she facilitated a couple of sessions, and they were mind-blowing. And today we will discuss the future of the African entrepreneur and also scaling your business and how to go about it, why you need to go about it. Adenike Adeyemi is an expert in small and growing businesses, policy, institutional transformation, non-profit, sustainability, philanthropy, and corporate governance. Her 20-year experience includes working in the private, public, and development sectors to develop, fund, and implement innovative programs and high-impact policies for MSMEs. That is medium, small, micro enterprises and young people. She is the CEO for Faith Foundation, Nigeria's foremost business incubator, which has connected over 193,000 aspiring and emerging entrepreneurs with a range of resources, including capacity building, advisory services, mentoring, and financing to start, grow, and scale their businesses. Under her leadership, the foundation set up the Faith Institute as a thought leader on Nigeria's MSMEs and has produced 14 research reports on the entrepreneurship ecosystem. She also led the expansion of the Faith School of Entrepreneurship incubation, owner, manager, and accelerator programs to 27 states and has published 9 books for Nigerian entrepreneurs. She also oversees the Faith Giving, which raised, disbursed, and closed a $1 million fund for the Faith Philanthropy Coalition for COVID-19 support fund in 2020. Now, prior to joining the Faith Foundation, she has worked at KPMG Nigeria, the Leadership Initiative, the New Jersey Educational Opportunity Program, and the West African NGO Network. She has also interned at the Africa America Institute. She has a Master's of Public Administration and a Master's of Arts in Diplomacy and International Relations from Seton Hall University in 2005. She has a BA in Linguistics from the University of Ibadan. She's a 2020 Eisenhower Global Women Leaders Fellow. She has board experience, trustee of the Youth Business International, council member, the 2022 NESG, Nigerian Economic Summit, and so on. Such a rich CV. You're welcome to the podcast, Adenike.
Thank you. It's my absolute pleasure that we finally,
after rejigging our schedules.
I know the world was against us, but it happened.
I know how busy you are. Thank you for finding time to.
I'm really honored. I always enjoy having conversations like this.
Yes. I want to even start. I've had the opportunity to interact to you a few times, and I see how passionate you are about entrepreneurs. How did that come about? Because you find out that there are not too many people. There are people in positions of authority or power, and people that can do something to help entrepreneurs, but they can't be bothered. But I see that verve, I see that drive to see entrepreneurs succeed. How did that come about? Where did that come from, if I might ask?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's one that I have had to think about. It actually happened by chance. When I started working when I did my NYC in 2001, I worked with a non-profit organization. Okay. And subsequently, even in and out of graduate school, I worked with non-profits up until about 2006 and 2007. But even though I was passionate about impact work, developing programs that impacted people, at the time, I realized that there was a way that my friends would speak about strategy, managing money. One of my friends asked me a question on, so if I give you $100, can you translate the value of impact that will have? And I could not answer it in that way. I can tell you what we'll use the $100 for, but I couldn't give you like the financial impact of that. So I then said, okay, there's a business knowledge I do not have that other people have, and I need to find a way to get it. And so that led to my joining KPMG, and I joined KPMG in 2007 in the management consulting division. And that really exposed me to just visioning, having an idea to build things and to impact, whether it's an impacting or a financially focused business, like a business rather. And so I spent a few years in KPMG. And then by chance, I think this was in 2011, I was up until then working on development projects, so working to help develop the strategy and institutional transformation for other foundations, non-profit, large public sector funds, and not necessarily any private sector business as it is. But by chance, I had to replace a colleague who had to go on another assignment, and then I had to replace her to manage a project that we're doing at the time for a leading indigenous Nigerian entrepreneur. And because of my expertise in strategy, I was able to, I got to then manage the project. And I found it quite inspiring that this was now a second generation business. And this is somebody that if I mention his name, you'll know, is a leader in the automobile business industry. And he was trying to build and set up a family office and really just re-envisioning the business beyond him. Yeah. And I found the passion, in fact, the way the business had evolved, because the person was not in auto when he started, he was doing something in textiles, actually. And then somewhat came across this opportunity with that. And over the course from that particular project, I just found myself and intentionally then looked for who we would call like entrepreneurial leaders who were owner managers, and then just looking to strategically reposition their businesses. Right. So we did in hospitality, in retail, in trade, and all of that. And what I've found from then, this is now 12 years till date, is just even the passion and the audacity that people like yourselves decide to say, okay, I'm interested in this idea and I think I can make money from this idea. Let's see how it goes. And the risks involved, the emotional risks, and all of that. So that then, in addition to my development and impact focus experience and passion, were just two great alignments. And so when it was then late 2014, I decided that, okay, I wanted to transition out of KPMG and go to another nonprofit. And then I came across Faith. Faith was the perfect marriage of my impact hat and my business head and my newly acquired appreciation and working with entrepreneurs in the last 3-4 years at that time. And so that's how it started. And honestly, and I mean, we can talk about that as we go on in the conversation. I am fueled by the passion for the entrepreneurs that I meet day in and day out, period.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Because I see that you are interested in what we do. You are. It's not just let me know what you do because I'm the CEO or I'm in a position. You really are interested in attending events and knowing the nitty-gritty of our day-to-day, which I feel is absolutely amazing. If I might ask, are there certain sectors you like to work with or every sector is I know that every sector is follows the same.
So it's both, because particularly Nigerian entrepreneurs who I'm passionate about, I'm particularly interested in sectors that have significant socioeconomic impact, that are job drivers, and job accelerators.
Right.
I'm particularly interested that harness skills, creativity, and just the dynamics of us, even as a country and even the continent. And so for me, it will be sectors within that cover the creative's value chain.
Right.
I feel that in another life, I probably would be a creative myself, whether design, architecture, even fashion, I'm interested definitely in the agribusiness value chain end to end. Because if you look at those two sectors, I'm also interested in other sectors, but I'll start with that, right? If you're able to harness and effectively support entrepreneurs in that space, what are the different things you do? First of all, if you look at creatives make people happy. Whether people like yourselves who dress people to the nines and make people good, that's number one. Yeah. Number two, they also shine and showcase Nigeria. Our creativity is one of the things that is showing just really the unbelievable potential of Nigeria. Yeah. I was in the US for about 4 or 5 weeks last month, and at least 3 times in a week, I would enter a shop or be on the road and hear somebody playing Nigerian music, And so even just the potential to give us, to showcase the enormous talent that we have, it's there. And then just even jobs. A lot of our entrepreneurs at Faith, yourself, you're employing, 3 to 10 people, in some cases 50 to 100 people. During the pandemic, when people were worried about the impact of the pandemic, the calls I got and the conversations I had with Faith Foundation entrepreneurs was not really about, what will happen to my business when it dies. The concern for a lot of our entrepreneurs was that, what will happen to my employees? My staff, the money he makes, the money he makes when he's paid every month is what he uses for rent, is what he uses for food. If I don't pay my staff, there will be serious problem. People can die. People can be sent out of their houses. So just even that ripple on effect and the impact it has on lives and livelihoods is there. And then again, in a hard environment, and now somewhat even impossible environment, people doing things despite the odds. And so those are the things that make me excited, and to that extent is that. But then on the flip side, one of the things that Faith Foundation is also helping me to see is that also showing entrepreneurial opportunities in places where you'd never have thought before. So one of the things we've been doing recently is also expanding entrepreneurial opportunities in places like sustainability and climate change. Because that's not where you traditionally see entrepreneurship. Yes. But you have to make connection with saying that these things are things that will impact climate, the environment, in whatever way, shape, or form. But in trying to help people understand the problems and solve the issue, if you also provide a perspective and lens for which they also know that it's a win-win and where they could create viable jobs. So something as simple as one of our entrepreneurs who is doing things in upcycling and who takes waste plastics and then transforms them to tiles that people uses in the house. So you see that value chain effect, you see that upcycling effect, you see creativity, but you also see her empowering young Nigerians across Lagos who then collect this plastic, who are then solving the problem of, ensuring that waste collection is there, contributing and handshaking with institutions like Loma, but they're also deriving incomes from that. And the product she's then using also acts as input supply to that. So it's really a very dynamic ecosystem that keeps evolving. And whatever sector you look at, if education, even that is also great because of the role of education in the sector, but also the importance of people knowing that they should be able to build a sustainable model even while running an education business. So
interesting. That's actually very, very interesting. You mentioned something which of course I feel it's common knowledge. If I'm gonna use the word stifling environment, especially I want to talk about my focus on I want to talk about African entrepreneurs, but of course with a focus on Nigeria because I work in Nigeria, Lagos. You have I see that Faith Foundation has set up in 27 states out of 36.
We run programs across 28 states.
28, which is absolutely awesome. Do you have any in the north?
So yes, we do. We've run, so even right in the next 1 to 2 months, we're going to run a program in Plateau State. We've run in Kaduna.
Physical?
Yes, we do. So we don't have physical offices. We do a lot of partnership models,
right,
where we also work with SME organizations who are already established there, because our business model also has to be efficient.
Sure.
So we can't afford to have offices in 28 states. But definitely this year, we will do Abuja, we'll do Kaduna, we will do Kano, we'll do Plateau State, so as long as in line with our model, it's safe and secure, we'll be able to do that.
So, because what I'm asking is, what is the how receptive are the entrepreneurs to the knowledge being shared? How excited are they? I mean, I know I could feel the excitement in the room when I was running the EP. Is that the same in the other states? Because I think that Lagos is vibrant.
So can I tell you something?
Yes.
I feel, and so let me say this as Adenike Adeyemi opinion and not faith. Honestly, I love Lagos entrepreneurs because there's that dynamism and energy.
We're vibrant.
Because we're also in a cosmopolitan, cities, commercial capital of Nigeria, and all of that. And Lagos entrepreneurs have access to the leading corporates and everything. But once you start to move outside of Lagos, the interest, the curiosity, and the appreciation of knowledge takes a different dynamic. Because I think with Lagos entrepreneurs, and again, please, no beef to my to our Lagos entrepreneurs here. It's almost like, if I don't do this program, maybe I'll go and do another program and all of that. So there's not really, options are available. In a lot of other cities, they are not. And so the intensity,
so they milk it,
to which that knowledge is grabbed. And then you also see people that are working, because in Lagos, you can say that if I'm in the fashion business, I would have clients, particularly if you're dealing with young, upwardly mobile, those are the kind of clientele you serve. They're banks, they're telecom companies, they're startups, a lot of them based in Lagos that I can serve. But you're then finding that people outside of Lagos have to look much more actively for their clients, or in some cases even create markets and the interests to even show people that this is money that you'll be expending. And obviously even the costs of the pricing is also much more higher in Lagos, and you can make that. So I think the interest, the curiosity, the passion, it feels like people are lapping all of that. Just even Ibadan, that I was in Ibadan last week. We just finished an 8-week program targeted at young people who are in university. And one of the advantages of the unfortunate situation of the strike is that the students from UI, from Ibadan Poly, Lead City University in Oyo State, 40 of them could come for 8 weeks and do this. It was unbelievable. And yes, the ones we did in Lagos, it was great, but that interest was different. I was not able to go to Aba, which we finished I think it was Onitsha. We finished that about 4 weeks ago, but my colleagues were there, and the way they also described the interest, the passion, the learning experience. And so Nigeria is not just Lagos. Yes, Lagos is a commercial center of that. But one of the great things about the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Nigeria is that it's very dynamic and it is diverse. And so even when we are going into other places, we have to find a way to indigenize the knowledge and the information. So one of the things we've been actively doing is working in partnership with governments, with other nonprofits and similar actors like us to make sure that the content, even the facilitators that come to speak, 60%, 70% of them are people who understand the local operating environment, the policies that are in place, the regulations, and really just the dynamics of running a business within that space.
Because I was going to ask that, do you do a tailor-made curriculum per region, per state, or because I see that you've authored, and I must say the entrepreneurship books are rich.
Thank you.
So do you tailor make each paper, resource, and all of that to each state you go, or how does that work?
That's a great question. So one of the as you know, we have under Faith Foundation, we have what we call the Faith School of Entrepreneurship. Yes. And so Faith School of Entrepreneurship is what delivers all our training programs that we do across all entrepreneurship levels. We have a department called the Learning and Influence Department. Okay. And so we wear the hat of a school where we develop a standard curriculum. And it's very Nigerian focused. Right. We say that even if you have to take it elsewhere, you have to still adapt it to the local environment. So there's the standard curriculum that is done. But then what then happens is that when we're then now running programs in other cities or locations, we then now say, okay, what are the peculiar dynamics that we then need to take into consideration for this? Because I'll give an example. Financial management is the relative basics around developing a budget, understanding record keeping, understanding what makes your income, your expenditure, understanding how to even, know if you're making the profit and what are the key metrics and all of that. But depending on the sector you're in and depending on the location and the kind of business, there are aspects to that you then need to have a lens on. So sometimes it's not even just a geographical lens, but even a sector lens. So we're in September, we're going to September now. Right. Schools are going to open. Cash flow cycles of an education business is very different from your type of business. Yes. And so what we consistently try to do is to make sure that those dynamics are then reflected in our curriculum as we do. And what we also say is that it's a continuous improvement process. So we made a joke in your class that by the time you come from the next EEP, you'd have seen some additional modifications because we've looked back and said, okay, what works? What's the standard knowledge we want to give? That should always be there. And what has worked and what can we add or just sort of review with that? So that's how we do it. We had to have a special team that their work really is on making sure the program delivers the outcome, which is that you can use that knowledge. So what we always say is, what we told you guys was that we don't want you to get the knowledge and be excited, but that excitement does not translate to business growth. Yeah. So how can you take that knowledge and practically be able to use it to start and grow and scale your business? Yes.
I mean, so I like I said before, I like your optimism. You are like a glowing fire where if somebody's feeling down, they come to you and you are excited about your business. But really, Adenike, I want you to be very honest. What is the future of the Nigerian? Because to be honest, on the streets, and I'm glad that your focus is on MSMEs. I sense a lot of despondency. I mean, which is one of the reasons why the season for the podcast is focusing on entrepreneurs, because there's so much. I don't know what to do. The currency, our currency is constantly taking a dip. Not just even Nigeria, globally. So what really is the future of the Nigerian entrepreneur? Should he or she be excited about the future? Should they, as I say, are good times coming? So I mean, please shed more light on that.
So, please. Okay. It's a good question, and not just even for entrepreneurs, but even Nigerian citizens as a whole. And thankfully also, one of the things we've done through our research part is also to say that if we don't understand the context with which entrepreneurs are operating, our curriculum and programming will be flawed. What is the current outlook that we're seeing? I'm not an economist, but, there are very strong and clear signs of macroeconomic stability, double-digit inflation. We have uncertainties around our monetary and fiscal policies, so even things around FX rate. Right. A lot of entrepreneurs are very dependent directly and indirectly, and because it's also an import-driven economy. Yes. So everything even for yourself, you're buying fabric, you're buying accessories. A lot of them are made from outside of Nigeria, and that uncertainty around, is it $1 to $4.20 or is it $1 to $700? You're punching, and there's not so many things you can also immediately transfer to the customer. And then there's also even just the outlook, right? Because in a thriving economy, except you're doing essential food like staples, every other thing falls down. So even you as an individual, you would also be making those decisions that what am I eating? What food? Food is not luxury.
It's not luxury, yeah.
I will eat food to satiate myself and my family, and then every other thing is dependent. According to, I may be corrected on this, but I think Q4 2021 or Q1 2022 from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics showed that Nigerians were now spending at least 60% of their income on food.
On food, yes, I read that.
And so if you're an entrepreneur who is not dealing with food and who is not dealing with basic food, that means that your customer has to then look to say whatever you're selling, does it fall into that 40% or that they are not spending on food? And then even if you're dealing in food, it has to be that you're dealing in basic food. So what that then means is that every person is then fighting for a sliver of the expense that individuals can make. And so right now, it doesn't necessarily seem very positive. And from my lens, it does not seem so. But what I would say, which has also always been the thing about Nigeria, is just the potential and the opportunities. Because on the flip side, as you're looking at as challenges, I can say that, for instance, some of our entrepreneurs, the last 2-3 years, even this year has been their best years yet. And that's the great thing about entrepreneurship, is that sometimes, even in the midst of challenges, that's where growth comes from ideas. That's where opportunities come from. And so the first question I would always say is that it depends on what you're offering. It depends on your product and it depends on your service. That's number one. Number two, I am never one to give up on Nigeria. I am a Nigerian patriot, as they say, through and through, because I have no other country than Nigeria. And yes, I can leave, but can I carry my entire family with me? I can carry my family, but I will have cousins' family, all of that. And just even looking at the fact that Nigeria's potential role, not just even in Africa, but even in the world, whether even our population, our young, vibrant talent, our domestic, the potential of our markets across different growth sectors, there are a lot of opportunities there. So my first thing is to encourage entrepreneurs, because globally also, a lot of things we're going through is also being experienced across the world, and even in a lot of developed countries. Listening to news of UK reports, they're struggling significantly. Most countries are dealing with higher quarter-to-quarter inflation rates. We're seeing the CBN, the central banks coming and intervening with that. We're seeing growth in unemployment and all of that. So it's also not just a Nigerian thing. What makes the Nigerian dynamics even much more critical is issues around insecurity. Issues around uncertainty in government policies. Right? Issues around the crisis of energy. So I'm sure where we are right now, there's a generator powering it because you can't assure light. So those are the things that also make it even additionally difficult to run a business in Nigeria. But one of the things we keep saying is that because we have those risks, those risks are not obvious risks, right? They're risks that you can plan for. And then the first question you then ask is that, should you even still be in business? For our AEP, which is our Aspiring Entrepreneurs Program, one of the things we say sometimes is that you may finish this AEP and realize that, you should close down this business. And it will be sad for us, but, the program has actually done what it said is to show the viability of the business. So the question any entrepreneur should ask themselves is that, how do I even know if my business is viable, even in the current term and the climate? Number two is that we also have power as entrepreneurs. So one of the things, we always advocate is you also have to be engaged in the sectors, in the industries, in the value chains that you're involved with. Because what has happened for a long time, which we think is now changing now, is that people who are not running businesses are making policies about entrepreneurship that affect businesses.
Which
so you are there. Why are you not having conversations with the regulators? Why are you not joining trade groups, industry groups that have conversations around policy, and then you give your voice as someone who is running a business in that space, and you make sure that you are partaking of that? And so our entrepreneurs also have to realize their roles as active citizens, rather. In a lot of countries, we are even seeing that these entrepreneurs who are running for government, who are running for public offices. And there's something around entrepreneurship that gives you leadership skills, negotiation skills, communication skills, financial management skills that will also make a lot of entrepreneurs very good, even or potentially very good in that. So my challenge back is also to say that for as long as you also choose to be in that business, understand the policies in your space. You cannot afford to be ignorant about the regulations that guide your business operations, and you need to be engaged, because you're also then you have a front row seat, not just to the policy making, but when opportunities come. And so when maybe a foreign government wants to invest in a certain sector, or even the government puts together a plan, you are at the table, you are there for them, for the pilot program to be thought through with that. So to summarize your answer, the outlook is not exactly positive at the moment. We're in a pre-election year, so there are a lot of uncertainties that happened with pre-election. This is the time to really watch, what you spend, how you spend it. It cannot be an emotional decision. You can't use emotional decisions to make everyday decisions for your business. So what kind of products you build, expand, extend, your clients, your pricing decisions, managing your money, hiring decisions really have to be guided by what you're seeing as the potential viability or otherwise, and be active, be an active citizen, understand the policies, be involved in that with it. I honestly feel that, if we get things right, the entrepreneurs will be the first beneficiaries of that. When you have a thriving economy, right now, entrepreneurs create 80% of the jobs in Nigeria.
Yes.
So, and when I say entrepreneurs, it's micro, small, and medium enterprise entrepreneurs.
Yes, I know. Shout out to us.
Exactly. You guys are creating the jobs. So you have a front row seat to benefit from that. There is also speaking of Nigeria and then Africa, there is also the opportunities for growth and scale even outside of Nigeria. We have opportunities like the Africa Free Trade Continental Trade Agreement that also makes it easy for borderless transactions and engagement. That was signed, I believe, in the last 2 years, but it's still being domesticated. So as we sit now, there's still not clarity on what it then means, around processes for entrepreneurs, like our entrepreneurs to take advantage of. But I feel it's a potential opportunity for people to think about, you selling your products to Ghana, all the way to Kenya, to South Africa, Mozambique, and the like. But also the opportunities with the digital economy, right? If I look back and I ask a lot of entrepreneurs that we started with in 2000 to date, one of the things they always say is that they feel that some of you newer entrepreneurs, that you don't even understand and appreciate the opportunities that you have. There's so many, one is not short of training programs, one is not short of even funding programs. So I know access funds is always an issue entrepreneurs talk about, but people are investing, people are supporting entrepreneurship in different ways, Even banks, even with higher interest rates, still have more products to support SMEs than they did years ago. So that, and then even that the world is then gradually appreciating our culture and the peculiarities that make things from Nigeria interesting. So food, I had this week, literally at least 2 people I spoke with who are working to export their products outside of Africa, outside of Nigeria, and even outside of Africa. Some of them have food packaged products they want to ship and sell. And so, interestingly, even with the Japa movement, a lot of people are then seeing those people who are relocating as potential customers.
Yes, of course.
But those people who are also relocating are also helping to expand Nigerian branding and products and all of that. So, however way you look at it, the opportunities are within the risks, and one then just has to weigh them side by side. But we are actually, in fact, it's almost like we're really just starting after 22 years at Faith Foundation, because the opportunities are really very limitless.
And I'm
despite.
happy. I'm happy to hear that. I mean, one thing you talked about, the rate, the exodus, this wave of relocation has also opened markets for us who are resident here, because now we do a lot of more export of our local fabric, the Adires, the Ashoke's, to UK, Canada, Australia. When 5 years ago, that didn't happen.
So it's great, and even I want to just make a quick comment, because I know part of the conversations is also scaling.
Yes,
and one thing we want to see though is that export is then a standardized process. It's not a suitcase process. It is. And which is why things around logistics, borderless transactions, even our financial policies, from a monetary perspective, on how people are able to pay and buy for goods and products and services are there. Because for you, imagine if you could list your products on Etsy.
Etsy, yes.
And it's not like you're looking, please, who is the next one? If I look for somebody who's traveling to London to carry this thing. So that for us is what scale would look like, because you're then able to effectively trade and exchange your goods and services across borders, and then even properly then earn the foreign exchange that you should. So those are the things that we would like to see, and that is what scale. Those are some of the evidences of scale, so of scaling beyond your local market.
So it's a good thing you talked about scaling, because there's that. I mean, segueing from when you talked about the outlook for the Nigerian entrepreneur, people need to be conservative about spending and all that. Is it the right time to scale? That's one question. I know that, of course, it's depending on your sector, depending on your industry, scaling is different. Priority for scaling is different. But then there's also the how. You really need financing to scale. For MSMEs, banks are not exactly very friendly, and interest rates are high. So another question is, so my two questions to you are: one, is it the right time to scale? Then two, for that entrepreneur who has done this business for a few years and wants to, as I say, move on to the next level.
Yeah.
What should they look out for?
Okay, great. Those are great questions, and I think I'll start by defining what, in my mind, and over the years, I will define as scaling.
Yeah.
So when you're looking to scale your business and, like you said, grow to the next level, you're looking for the opportunity to, first of all, increase your product or service offering. Offering of volume.
Volume, okay.
Yes, because sometimes there are people who have monoproduct or monoservice businesses, and what you want to do is just increase your customers. So either increase the number of your customers or increase the volume that your limited customers are. So that's number one. But increasing your customers, that means that you then have to have the cash flow to enable you to increase that. And so the question then is, first, is there a potential market for this, my expanded, and appetite for my expanded product and service portfolio? And do I have the data or confirmation that market exists and is willing and able to take on that? That's number one. Once that question has been answered, the next thing is that what is then the financial and resource requirement to increase that product and service capacity? Am I going to expand to new facilities? Do I need to hire more people? Do I need new machines? Do I need certain regulatory approvals and processes? Is it a marketing issue so people don't even know about me and it's just a visibility issue? Or are there other things I need to do in terms of business structure, processes, all of those things? Because when you then answer your question, what is required to fund that becomes clearer. And I'll come back to that shortly. And then number three is then saying that once, I'm certain that I've ticked all the buttons around making sure I have the right products, customers, and there's a clear market for that. And number two, I have the financing or cash flow to be able to enable that. Number three is that, do I then have the capacity to grow, to take all of that and to expand? What we found out is that people don't answer those questions well. So even when it comes to, I need money, what do you need money for? What do you need money for? What do you need money for? When do you need the money? Is it all the money you need at once? What do you need at each stage? Because before you go to a bank, if the bank is not giving you grants, so I would even, as a matter of fact, say that except you get to a certain level, the bank should never be your number one, number two, number three course. If it is not a special intervention fund, like a CBN fund disbursed through a bank that is single-digit interest, banks really, the way most banks are structured, are commercial, very commercial purposes, and a lot of our businesses really cannot afford, and they put themselves in trouble for that. So that detailed work in saying that, in answering those first two questions, because sometimes you want to scale, but you actually do not have a market that will take off your products and services, and you don't want to create products and services that people will not buy, and all of that. Number two is then asking the question that, would my cash flow be able to support, will improved cash flow, for instance, be able to support that, that growth? Where else does money needs to be invested in? And what are the opportunities for me to finance that? So those are the details. Like you said earlier, it depends on the kind of business that you're in. Yeah. So if you're in the fashion space, for instance, and you want to scale to then be doing ready-to-wear products that you are then sending abroad, you're asking your questions around tailors, around machines, but even around not just any tailor, but the type of tailors that you would need, the type of machines that you would need to have standardized process that will help you turn around, the quantity and the volume and the quality that you are then marketing out to. So once you are clear on that, what we walk through people is then saying that you are in the fashion space. What opportunities exist in the fashion space? You may not be able to get money, but perhaps there's a government program that is providing machines that you can get. So clearly identifying the resources is important. Perhaps there's a government, and I'm using this as examples that I know have existed. Perhaps, so I need more people, but there's a government program that is training people to understand pattern making, tailoring. So perhaps I can get my resources from there. And some of them even do internship programs with that. Yes.
So I get what you mean. Like, there's so much focus on money.
Yes.
I don't have to give you the money. I can give you the machines you need. I give you the expertise you need. But we all focus on, I need money.
I need the cash.
I need the cash.
I need the cash.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. In fact, this is even a lesson we've learned even at Faith. So there are partnerships that we have. And that's a model that we always encourage our entrepreneurs to think about, where, again, we are a non-profit, so, it may not necessarily be, it may be apples and oranges, but I want to use this as an example to get to something. We have people partners who support us. They don't give us cash, but they support us with maybe internet support.
Right.
They support us with legal advisory services. And one of the things I realized, or technology, is that if they give us that money, and we were then going to pay another service, we will not even be able to get up to the value of what they're giving us. So that's also a recommendation that we make to a lot of our entrepreneurs, that if you are clear with what is needed to take you to the next level, you then have to look at the different options and the opportunities to resource those options. I know so many people who have gone into JV arrangements or who've gotten into some sort of trade by barter services, who say, okay, either even what we call co-opetition now. So both of us want to expand our fashion business. I keep using fashion because of
yes, of course.
We want to expand our fashion business, but we both need expanded tailoring lines that we cannot afford. Let's set up somewhere where we can both co-share and co-facilitate that. That's an option. Let us explore government programs and opportunities that are in existence that supply resources or even create some form of financing opportunities for that. If you require equipment, tools, there is the Bank of Industry. Yes, they're a bank, but they're a development finance bank. And they are looking to industrialize. So if I'm looking to scale, but I require a lot of production, a lot of equipment, machinery, I can get financing from them to be able to do that. So you really have to be strategic in answering your question to scale, because sometimes it will be better for you to stay at the level that you are if you are not ready to do that. And so when people ask me, what is the first challenge? number one will not be access to finance. The first thing around finance is even the knowledge of the entrepreneur in understanding what are the financial drivers of their business and what are the financial indicators that will help to take them to the next level. If they've not answered that question, they are not ready yet.
Right.
And they'll likely get money and not even know what they do with it. Yes. And squandering does not even mean that they used it to buy a car or something. It may just mean that they just did not apply it appropriately. And then they're now burdened with debt that they don't have the cash flow to pay for, or they've gone into an arrangement with an investor and they can't fund back.
So, I mean, as a summary of what you say, you're up for scaling.
Yes.
Scaling is good.
Yes.
But only if it's done the right way.
Yes. Scaling is good, and scaling should be one of the growth milestones of a business, you know. But that growth milestones come with knowing that, first of all, you started to generate income. Number two, your income has exceeded your expenses, so you're moving on profitability. Number three, you fully utilize your operation. So your what economists call, oh my goodness, I can't believe I missed it. But making sure you're optimally using your resources and you are stretching it to the full extent possible. And then the next level is then, okay, now that you've stress tested that, you're then now moving to the next level where you can now have more customers, more products, but you have the capacity to fulfill them. And then what then happens is that for every naira you spend, it grows further because you are fully optimizing for scale.
Right.
So,
I mean, I asked this question in class, and this is going to be my final question because I can ask questions all day.
It's been a great conversation.
So which should come first? I expand in anticipation for the growth coming, or I grow to the point where, man, I'm stretched, then I expand?
So what will, it's the thing that starts small with a big vision.
With a big vision, yes.
So the clarity must always, you have to start with what you can do and what you can deliver at that time. But you should have a very bold, big, audacious vision. But you should also be clear on, for me to get to point 2, what do I need to see? So and sometimes people come into entrepreneurship by chance. So sometimes it's not an active thing. You start baking a cake, people like it, and the next thing you're getting orders for it. And before you know it, you have a full-run bakery business. So even if you've come to it by chance, it is that. And that's why strategy planning is very important. And people always think, it's a large corporate. No, so let's even take away the nomenclature from it. It's just saying that I'm going from Lagos to Ibadan. How would I know that my journey is progressing? Lagos to Ibadan can either be by foot, so I can walk from Lagos to Ibadan.
And I'll arrive next year.
And I'll arrive. It can be by Okada. It can be by bus.
It can be by train.
It can be Lagos by car. It can be personal car. It can be train. You can even fly.
Yes, you can.
So what are the different routes I'm going to take? I may have started out walking, but I realized, oh my goodness, it's going to take me 10 years to get to Ibadan. And, because of insecurity, they will carry me from the road. So maybe I'll walk 5 minutes, take Okada when I get to Ogere, and take bus. It is not one path route. But if you understand the different options and the opportunities, and you always sit down and reflect, you can then say, okay, am I progressing or I'm not? And I think the last thing I will say is that entrepreneurs have to realize that it's not a do-it-alone journey, because you are the risk taker, you are passionate about the business, but you need to bring in other people who can advise, give you guidance, so that even in the midst of things, they're either showing you pointers of things you may have missed, they encourage you on things that you can keep on doing, or they even give you guidelines on, the way to view your experiences. Getting experiences of other people who've also been that path also reduces. So if you know where I gone from Lagos to Ibadan, you know that you cannot walk. Just that it will not make sense to walk because people will think you're a madman. So rather than going through that, the person will say, okay, maybe you have money for a car. There's a standard transport system that can take you with that. Or now we have a train system. So I know we're making jokes around it, but really it's to take the idea that the journey you want to work from small to big should be audacious, but you should be clear on the path to that. The path also changes. So make sure that, every quarter, every 6 months, you reassess to say, okay, this was my goal. How far have I gone? If I've progressed, why did I progress? Was it in line with what I thought or something happened? Because that assessment also allows you to make room for uncertainties in the environment and all of that. Number 3 is also learning through the lens of other people who have walked through similar journeys so that there are mistakes you don't need to make. Number 4 is also exploring partnerships along that journey, along the way, where they can also help you to accelerate your growth and scale. Number 5 is learning from failures. There would always be failures. And that lesson should then be, what could I have done differently? What would I do next time from that? So those would be my suggestions, again, based on what I know a lot of entrepreneurs have gone through in terms of just making the decision to do that. Number 6 would be, it also depends on you. Some of our businesses are okay with their businesses being
like
businesses.
that, yes.
They do not have, and when you say, this thing you are doing, even to an extent, but they do not even want to live. They have no plan.
And is that okay?
So it is okay. It is okay because it is also around personal fulfillment.
Yes.
And that's the diversity of entrepreneurship. If you go to developed economies, you've seen small mom and pop that have run
for years. And generations.
Another generation might then now come and say, okay, we want to scale this. So it's also dependent on you. Some people also start businesses and they want to sell it. They want to sell it. I have one of our entrepreneurs who is like, in the next 2 years, I'm just going to sell this business, But there's some of our businesses and entrepreneurs, and I see you at something like that are till 70, 80.
I'm on
this,
it.
Will be kicking it, Europe, America, Asia.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so it depends on what you yourself, what you feel. You have to sort of go to that Maslow's hierarchy and say, what is fulfillment for you? What is the journey you want to define for entrepreneurship for yourself for now? Because you may change. You may even have something larger, but then your mind changes in 2 years. So always continue reflecting on that too.
Thank you so much, Adenike.
You're welcome.
Thank you for gracing our chair.
My pleasure.
It's been a very interesting conversation. So for that entrepreneur who wants to attend the FAITH program, can you just shed light on some of your programs and where they can reach FAITH Foundation for the FAITH School, the FAITH Institute, advisory, and any other platforms?
Thank you. So our FAITH School of Entrepreneurship exists to support anybody looking to start, build, and scale their business, and at whatever stage that you are in, from idea stage to an already established business. And we have a wide range of programs that cut across your age, your sector, and they deal with a mix of training because there's the knowledge you require, and it's it's very interactive, it's very practical,
it is.
And we have literally a whole resource portfolio that accompanies the training. It has mentoring support because we believe in guidance, insights, and help from other people who are also able to handle you on that. It has advisory support where you can get access, not just during the program, but after the program, to people who are able to give you technical guidance and advice for free. And then we can then also refer you to paid services that are pro bono on it. But it also has the community for it, because sometimes you just want to sit and talk with people.
Yeah, so that on the journey,
exactly,
that understand the journey.
And there's something about a community that sometimes just makes the difference. And I think for us, that's also the icing on the cake. So if you want to know about FAITH Foundation, please visit our website, faithfoundation.org. If you're in Lagos, visit us at 16 Town Planning Way in Ilupeju. All our social media handles are at FAITH Foundation. We have 2 major flagship programs, one for those who are early stage business, the Aspiring Entrepreneurs Program. In fact, our last run for this year is starting early September. And then the Emerging Entrepreneurs Program, which is for more experienced owner-manager businesses looking to scale to the next level. And that's also, the next one is also starting in September. For that. We have some free programs and then we have some paid programs, but we guarantee you that the paid programs are 1/10 of what you pay for the value you get.
Yes,
Being exposed to world-class faculty, including our founder, Mr. Fola Adeola, and so many other leading entrepreneurs and professional leaders who act as mentors, guardians, advisors for that. It's definitely an unregrettable journey. So we welcome all FAITH entrepreneurs to the FAITH School.
Yes. And I must say, the FAITH, EEP, Emerging Entrepreneurship, was one of the highlights for my year. I met amazing people and that have opened my eyes, my mind to many more opportunities that I wouldn't have known. So a big thank you to you and your team.
No, thank you for entrusting us with your entrepreneurial journey. It's been such a pleasure to meet you and also welcome. Have you now.
Yes, so that's me. Anyways, that's just for another day. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. It was an absolute honor to have you on our chair, the CEO. I was going to say I knew you as the ED, but now you are the CEO. But have you changed roles?
No, I've always been the Chief Executive Officer for Faith Foundation.
Okay.
But with non-profits, the term is Executive Director.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's the same roles.
It's the
same roles. All right. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for listening to the Coffee and Beans podcast. I'm sure you have had a good time listening. If you have questions, comments, or inquiries, please do send us a mail at coffeebeanspod@gmail.com. We are on Twitter and Instagram at coffeebeanspod. Coffee Beans Pod is spelled COFFEBEANSPOD. I have a day job. And you can find us on at Outspoken Clothiers.
Shout out to Outspoken Clothiers.
Outspoken Clothiers without the E.
Yeah.
Yes, and also remember this episode was sponsored by Udalu. Udalu is a platform that connects professionals to clients. Till the next episode of the Coffee Beans Pod, drink coffee and stay fresh.